It is only when she dies after you we will be lenient about where she's buried. But if she dies before, let's agree first on that before we proceed. When you now agree, so okay, then all the normal issues can now be discussed thereafter. Is a ruler that gave that prescription, and those prescriptions are prescriptions that if they are continually followed, the authority of the ruler will be intact in the territory. And that's why, are you here? You are still with me? You know what I want to talk about? You say, remember the topic? Wrestling. So the ruler established a very powerful infrastructure of control in that climate, in that city, in that neighborhood, in that environment. And I need to show you how to defeat that ruler, because the ruler is extremely powerful. So this is the testimony that the guys came up with. They came up with the testimony in the book of Luke, chapter 10. They said, even the daimonion. The word daimonion means magistrate, and it is referring to the ruler. That's the one that gives laws, operates by laws. Are you with me? So the ruler. Now you will expect that in this arrangement, you see that? You will expect that in this arrangement, since I said that the rulers' spiritual wickedness in high places happen to be the highest ranking spiritual entities, you will expect that when those guys went to the field, they will be engaging spiritual wickedness in the heavenly places. I need to tell you one or two things quickly about spiritual warfare. First of all, we'll need to go to the book of Genesis and find out the scope of authority that God bequeathed to man. Are you still there? Genesis chapter 1. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea. So dominion covers the sea. Over the fowl of the air, it covers the atmosphere. It is atmospheric. When we look above, the scope of our authority above is atmospheric, right? So your authority doesn't cover the heavens. Your authority covers atmosphere. It doesn't cover stratosphere. It doesn't cover ionosphere. It covers atmosphere, the beds of the air. Please take note of that. Over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So that's the scope of our authority as men. And the place where spiritual wickedness is domiciled is, in heavenly places, is beyond your scope of authority. As you will come to realize in the piece that we are trying to read in the book of Luke chapter 10 from verse 17. All right, go back. He said, they returned again with joy, saying, the daimonion are subject unto us through thy name. Verse 18. And he said unto them, he's trying to explain the reason for the victory. While they went to the field, Jesus was in the control room. Jesus was dealing with spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. And he said he saw Satan fall like lightning from where? Because the scope of authority of the people Jesus was sending did not include the heavenly realms. It was Jesus himself that dealt with that entity by himself. You get that? And how does he do that? He dispatches angels. The Lord dispatches ranking angels to deal with those spiritual work. That's the jurisdiction of the angelic. Those demons, those entities that are in the heavenly realms, they are within the jurisdiction of angelic entities. So you will find that God normally sends ranking angels to contend with ranking demonic entities whose jurisdiction is in the heavenly realms. And I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. You see, the end of this lecture, which we may not be able to do, would have been that we would have had to go to the book of Daniel to see how Daniel participated in the cosmic war. It was Israel that Daniel was praying about. Daniel was not praying about spiritual wickedness in the heavenly realms. But the bondage of Israel had to do with the prince of darkness that was over the territory. So when Daniel began to raise the thing, angels were dispatched to go discomfit that spiritual entity in order to create a new lease of possibility that will actualize the expectation of Daniel. Do you understand that? I don't have time to press that. So Jesus was giving them hindsight. Jesus was giving them realities that were obtainable in the control room. That Satan had fallen like lightning from heaven. So spiritual wickedness is not within your own scope of dominion. The highest entity you can deal with in this arrangement are the rulers. And it's the rulers that the apostle said were subject to them in the name of Jesus. Now that you understand that, let's talk about rulers. Because how do you wrestle with an entity that has infiltrated culture? What the people call their culture were prescriptions that came through the lips of these rulers. And as long as they keep to those customs and those cultures, they are giving worship, memory, strength, and acceptance to the authority of the ruler in the territory. You can't just come there and say, I cast the ruler out, and the whole land is liberated. You will need to wrestle. And I need to show you this wrestling. Remember when Jesus was baptized? When Jesus was baptized, his identity was revealed through the testimony of the Father. And after his identity was revealed, the next point of call after the massive disclosure of his identity was for him to do spiritual warfare. He had an appointment with Satan. He was going to be tempted of the devil. And it is the outcome of that battle that was going to determine Jesus' ministry. I know you know what happened there. But at the end of the day, the testimony that Jesus gave as a summary for that engagement is in the book of John chapter 14 verse 30. John 14:30, if you have it on the screen. He said, hereafter I will not talk much with you. Why? For the prince of this world cometh, or the prince of this world has come and had nothing in me. The summary of Jesus' encounter with Satan in the wilderness was that the prince came and the prince found nothing. in him. Listen, when you come to a territory and God shows you a spirit, the reason why you saw that spirit is because that spirit is factored within that territory. There are two ways to handle that matter. Just like Pastor Austin did, the moment he saw the spirit, the serpent, he rebuked the serpent. What you are doing is wrestling. So you gave out the first blow. What makes you think that the battle has ended? If you are doing wrestling, last time I checked, it's long. I watched a wrestling match, but I used to like it those days. It means the battle ends because you. No, you just attracted the battle. And there's going to be feedback, like what you experienced on the bed was feedback. The problem, the reason why you had that feedback was because when you gave the blow, you now kept your boot and your gloves and then went to drink coffee and say, I hit somebody. After giving that blow, you don't sleep in the night. The battle continues. Oh, you're not with me. I know you don't like wrestling. You don't like it. But let me give you an idea. Even just in case you were interested. First Corinthians chapter 15 verse 32. 1 Corinthians 15:32. Before I begin to talk about wrestling. Meanwhile, what was Jesus' testimony? He said, I'm not going to talk much with you anymore because the prince of this world, he came, he showed up, and he found nothing in me. I'm going to come into all of that. He said, if after the manner of men I fought, the word fought there is wrestle, with the beasts at Ephesus. There were beasts there. Most of the time when God shows you the shape of a territorial entity, it takes an animalistic outlook, like what you saw was a serpent. If you had probed further, you would have found what a serpent means and the oppression of that ruler, which is not for this lecture. Before someone will now say, he said, serpent is like this. I can only tell warriors, divulge that information. It's not for the open floor. All right? So it was a serpent you saw. That, the creature that God uses to illustrate the entity, the creature itself, the nature and the operation of the creature is captured in that animalistic visual. I'm giving you clues. The warriors that I'm talking to know how I wish it was a group of 12 warriors. Then I can tell you plainly. But so the experience you had wasn't different from what Paul experienced when he came to Ephesus. And I hope you know Ephesus was the landscape that the gospel prospered most. It was because he began with Ephesus in warfare. So when God shows you that stuff and you strike, don't go back and think it has finished. You have provoked wrestling. And in wrestling, except they have changed the rules of wrestling, but in wrestling, you are coming to the field expecting that you'll be punched on the head. Hammer lock. There's something they used to call hammer lock those days. So what your experience was hammer lock. Because you couldn't breathe. You say, oh no! It's hammer lock. You see, the kind of faith we have been taught is defective. Because it was because of the faith teaching you felt that because you gave the blow,